Okay, we're going to check out, see what OCA has been up to for the last year or so, working on his room correction things. So recently he put out A1 Evo Acoustica, and this was the first time I was really interested in this, because you could essentially take REW measurements with your own microphone and then upload them to your Denon or Marantz receiver. So he's been working on this for like some time, since I think back here a year ago, Odyssey 1. And what that was doing was essentially hijacking the phone app and sending information through the phone app and then uploading it to your receiver. Over time it's got a lot more elaborate and more advanced, and now it's really at the stage where I feel as though I want to use it, because it's made the calibration process like so much more easier. So I like to do a lot of things myself if I can, but if something is better like this, I'll simply just use this. But I still like to do my own measurements and things like that. I don't really want to do measurements with the Odyssey microphone. You know, I want to do my own things like that. And a lot of this was still using the Odyssey microphone. Maybe Neuron as well was using the Odyssey microphone and things like that. So I will leave a link to this video and his page here. I'll leave a link to everything here and what I'm going to discuss here. But, well, I started using my first calibration with Acoustica didn't really go well. The levels were completely wrong, and it was because I was coming off of a MultEQ-X editor PC app configuration before. Like, what I was doing was making sure all the levels were correct before I measured, things like that, which do help to some extent, but OCA basically told me it's really not necessary with this type of calibration. So the best thing to do is either set all of your levels, including speaker levels and the trims on the actual inputs as well, all to 0. You can do this manually, or OCA has provided an actual file to make sure certain things are reset so you're ready for a calibration. So I'm actually going to do that first. But what I've done on my Denon here is set things up for preset 2. So that's the benefit of the presets. Right now my preset 1 is got a calibration on it. I don't really want to mess with it, but in theory I have everything saved, so it wouldn't matter. I could just load the file. But I've never actually used preset 2, so I thought I'd give it a try even on preset 2. One of the things with the presets is you've got to be aware of, like, really the things that change in the presets. Most of it is actually in the speaker section. From what I'm seeing, the video things don't really change from one setup to the other, but you have to make sure your speaker layouts are correct. I'm using 11.2 setup. Subwoofer mode is standard. I don't like directional bass. I don't want to mess with it. So this custom calibration was different, so there's a few things that you might want to check if you do use another preset, but that's what we're doing here. So just a couple of things. Like here, the low pass filter is by default 120 Hertz. The program that I'm about to use from OCA will set this to 250, ready for measurements. The levels here, even though they are 0, my old setup wouldn't have been 0. It would set them to 0. Actually, another thing that you can't see here is, do I have an image of this? No, that's something different. Pictures. Right. Also, you need to check this on a remote here. This option here also brings up input trims. They obviously have to be 0 as well. So you've got the levels in the speaker section that need to be 0. This needs to be 0. Because I'm not sure if even his program that runs here resets that. I'm not sure if that's a thing. I could maybe check it. That goes to this screen where you get the channel level adjust. These all need to be 0 when you measure. I think that's about it. I think that's all that gets reset. So let's get going. I'm gonna like measure my speakers kind of like off screen, just get that done because, you know, it's measuring speakers. I have to measure 12 of them. You know, but the basic setup and to get my receiver set up and ready to go, I want to like go through it with you. And for people that have never done this. So on his video here, there's links to like his Google Drives. But there was a previous video, a neuron here, that linked this here, and it's called an odd file, or a odd.WTF here. So I'm just going to download that specifically. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to download that because that was the file that needs to be downloaded. Downloads. Okay. To reset. Make sure everything is reset and ready to go. So I'm going to do this first, and then, like I said, I'll do the calibration after. One sec. Alright, so that can be deleted. Okay, so you come into this file folder here. I would choose the first one. I'm not sure if this matters, but I used the first one here. It's called odd menu. It's a Windows batch file, so we'll just run it and see. Now, a lot of OCA stuff, you're going to get like a Windows Defender, like, you know, saying, hey, we don't recognize this stuff. I mean, I've used this, so I haven't got any problems with it. So some things could get caught as well in Windows security. I disabled security for his particular file, so I don't have any issues anymore, but I know some people did. I mean, I had issues as well. So optimize your, so number 3 here, optimize your receiver settings for manual REW measurements, configures your AVR to manually take your own measurements of your system. Essentially it resets everything to default. So if I choose number 3, so it just straight up did it. Will enable all the subs. This will change your current configuration. What it does as well is it puts... Wait, there's an error. Okay. Failed to set AVR to... Okay. Let's try this again. What it's doing is it's setting a flat calibration or a uncalibrated signal to Odyssey as well, and putting all the levels flat. You can get some wireless problems like this. I mean, I'm wireless here. Maybe it's that. Oh no, I pressed 33, but... Okay, looks as though it's going now. I have seen this fail once when I did it before. So yeah, this is an uncalibrated file, and it sets the receiver to reference, which doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's reference or flat. So All right, so AVR, all right, it's now a success. First one just didn't go through. And the receiver is now ready to take REW measurements. So continue, that's that. Right, that's all you need this file. You could delete everything else if you just wanted to include this. I've included it. I have this here, odd receiver reset. So I just have one here, just ready to go, just in case I ever want to do that. So let's do a refresh here. So crossovers are all full range. It changed that. Distances are all 2.75 because it will work out the distances based off the impulse off probably the left channel, yeah, and the timing of things. Crossovers are full range. Levels will be 0. If they weren't 0, they will now be 0. Low pass filter. This is bugging out. Is 250 hertz. You want the subwoofer channel completely maxed out when you measure this way. Before, on my own calibrations, I was measuring through the right channel instead of the subwoofer channel, because typically I don't like to measure through sub sweeps, because typically they've got like a Dolby roll-off on them. But OCA said with this program there's no issues with doing that, so I just set my mains to 250 hertz instead, and you essentially get the same result. And sweeping that way means the sub was at speaker level instead of the 0.1 channel being 10 dB louder. So I think that's it. Two subwoofers, XLR outs. That's the benefit of the Denon A1H is you have XLRs. You can assign these to anything. Like if I had external amps, I can actually use XLR outs. I only have 4 of them, but now the calibration really is so good. What OCA does with this, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going to 4 subs. Not soon, but in the future. Another thing is this is set to auto, which mirrors the settings of whatever you've already got. I will change this later to manual because I like my music to sound a particular way even with this calibration. So I think we're ready to go. That's it. So yeah, this file here is great. It just essentially does all the work for you. It makes sure things are set to 0 and that the system is just ready to go. Another thing, so before, when I was measuring with this the levels were just off. And I think it was because it was coming from very specific timing measurements in this app. So that is definitely a problem. All right, so we're ready to go. I'm going to cut it here, and I'm just going to start measuring now this setup in REW and VLC Player. I'm going to use VLC Player. You can use Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. I don't want to mess with this right now because I've never done it with this, and I know the timing on this is slightly different. So I'm just going to sweep with VLC Player for now. Yeah, so I will be back and we'll use this, not this, Acoustica. I'll download this. There's a Mac version, Windows version, Linux version, and we'll just download that and run that. All right, so I'm going to get the measurements going here. I'll be back. Okay, just finished the measurements, and that's everything. One thing you have to do here as well is make sure everything is labeled correctly. Front left, front right, you know, front height left, front height right, and even the surround lefts, A's, and surround right A, they need to be labeled this way. Subwoofer 1, subwoofer 2. As you can see, 90 relative levels, my subs are running hot right now, both of them. And the reason they're running hot is because with Denon and Marantz, in my opinion, what you want, especially if you listen loud, you want to put more volume in on the sub and then allow the levels of any calibration you do to essentially bring that down. So the subwoofer channels essentially will be maybe 6 to 10 dB hot, and that allows you to put the subwoofer channel low so it doesn't clip. I think anything below -6 will not make your receiver clip if you play something at reference. So typically my calibrations run around -8, and I think this one currently, I've got my subs pretty hot, around 10 dB hot. So it will more than likely put, let's say, a -10 dB cut in volume in the actual receiver itself. This is what I want. I actually want this. Again, it's just to avoid clipping problems and pushing things too hard. If your sub numbers say positive numbers, I would consider raising your subwoofer levels on the actual subs themselves and then remeasuring and remeasuring the whole thing. That's what I would do if you play loud. If you're like kind of a casual listener, like if you listen to movies that say -20, you're not going to have a problem. But I listen to movies at, like, depending on what they are, like if it's Christopher Nolan movie, it'll be -8. If it's like Furiosa is a -4, -2, could even be reference. You could even go reference on that one. So you've just got to like see what movies, like you got to see how loud you go. The reason I know that the clipping initially existed was Tenet, the movie Tenet. There's a section where she's driving a speedboat over to, well, a huge yacht, and the bass there is just absolutely astronomical. It's just like some music playing, and it's like some of the best bass. I always test my calibrations with that part, and then the war part just like directly after. So that's pretty much why I put my subs that high, and both are about the same level here. I went near field and made sure my subs were at the same level. So just another thing as well about this, you can download OCA's, where's my camera? Let's move this for a sec. You can download OCA's ATMOS sweeps. What I suggest you do here is only make a special folder and only include the speakers that you have. It just makes it easier for me. There's a lot of other sweeps for even like ATMOS height channels, Dolby front, things like that. So I just pulled out the ones that I use for me. Another thing, this should probably be removed. This is a plus 10 dB louder sweep for the LFE channel. Don't use that. Only use this one. This one is at speaker level, which is essentially -10, or you could say 0. But you may as well say -10 at this point, because this one's the actual volume of the sub. I calibrated with this first, and the levels were totally out of whack. So OCA told me to actually use this one. I mean, this one may as well be deleted. I can download these files again. I can put it somewhere else, but it just shouldn't be in this, because it's probably confusing. Speaker names, right? So I made sure I copied down all the speaker names, what they are, everything. I wanted to know exactly what my sweeps were, what my speakers were, and everything. So it is good to have some notes as well to make sure you know what speakers are what. So that's all the sweeps. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about before we get going? I think that's it. If I didn't say already, I swept at 75 dB for my sweeps. I don't see any reason to sweep at any other volume. I think 75 dB is completely fine. I have dabbled with sweeping at higher volumes, and higher volumes in my opinion doesn't sound good. The reason is, we don't really need to get too far into this, but if you're in an untreated room, the louder you go, the more reflections of sound you're going to have, right? I have a front blackout curtain. That's pretty much the only room treatment I have in this room, and it's not real room treatment, but it's enough to stop a lot of reflections from the front. It really does like improve things, but I've noticed that the louder, because I don't have any room treatment or anything like that, I just have posters and a really thick couch and things like that, big seats and things like that, cushions. That's pretty much it in my room. I have carpet though, yeah. So I think you need to get like a good gauge on like how loud you should EQ a system. I personally think around anywhere from 70 to 75 dB is, in my opinion, where you want to be EQing to. Even if you had room treatment, it doesn't mean you need to go louder, because some parts of the walls are not treated, right? Some parts of those walls will be also reflecting. The more energy, sound energy you have in a room, the more influence a reflection is going to have. It can change the sound. I have done this before where I've measured at 80 dB and it is a dry sound. So again, I think 75 dB is fine. I use the generator here, press this for the center channel, and with a speaker cowl, and then just measure. Measure at 75. As soon as it hits 75, that's it. You're ready to go. Now, some of these other speakers are louder, right? They are louder, and they may even be lower. Look here, the front height right. So my ATMOS speakers are low. But and this is kind of why I wanted to rebalance everything before this program Acoustica did its work. But with this program, I was just being way too over the top. There's a lot of things you can do in this app for distance that you can't do anywhere else. And it's the same with the actual volumes as well. You can be very precise in this MultEQ app that you just can't do on the receiver itself. So I just let all that go, and I was like, all right, let's just trust in the system of setting everything to 0, and then let's see if it can balance it by itself. So that's what I've done. So that's that. I think that is everything talked about here. So let's go to downloads and get ready for this. Now, so I'll leave the link in the description for this as well. This is obviously the main thing here. So I can go back up there. Yeah, so this has all of the downloads for like everybody's system, Linux, Mac, and Windows. I'm going to download the Windows. It might take a little while here because it does have to scan for things. But I'm a yapper, so I'm sure I can keep this going. Actually, yeah, we can talk about this. So every time there's a new update, this is 5.3, there's been many iterations of this. Can I not do this while I'm downloading? and it gives essentially anytime there is an update. Okay, can't scan for viruses, it's fine, download anyway. Okay, so that's going to download. My current version that I'm using is 5.1, so fixed a bug for MultEQ-X and with the filters. Increase the precision of subwoofer time alignment. For me, going from 5 to 5.1, whether this is part of my Odyssey models here, can I just download? Should be able to, hopefully. I could probably ban this from the free download manager so it just downloads through Windows in the future, maybe. I wonder if I can do that. Like, I think, can you ignore? I don't know, it's downloaded. Oh, I got two. But yeah, it gives you all the updates on what has changed and improved. So again, going from there was a bug in the subwoofer levels in every version up until 5.0. 5.0 personally fixed my bass problems. I actually gave the math to OCA and showed him that the levels were off by 6. I think it was exactly 6 dB. Whether it was taken in account 2 subs, I don't know. Maybe that was it. Obviously, if you had a third sub, the difference is again another 6 dB. If you had a fourth, it's another 6 dB. So there are definitely things to work out here. And each model, I think, handles bass levels in a slightly different way. So 5 fixed that, but 5 from 4.5 had really dry sound. I just didn't like it at all. So I switched to 5.1, and when 5.1 came out, the sound for me is excellent now. These are new. Like these were 5.2 and 5.3 have only just been released. I don't know. It says here about there's bass level fixes, things like this. So there's a lot of. It says here the UI is going to fit the screen. It still doesn't, but there's multiple iterations going on all the time. Now, what I suggest you do is if you find a version that you like, and then you go to a new version, and somehow you don't like the sound, just go back into the old file, run, just upload the file back to the receiver. So I make sure I keep all of the old ones, like what do I have here? I have 4.5 did sound good, but the bass levels are off. 5 fixed the bass levels. I still keep them just in case. This is my main one right now, 5.1. I probably should keep them somewhere different, but the downloads folder for me is just fine right now. Alright, this is 5.3, so I've never used this one. But we'll see how it goes. One sec. Let's delete that. Alright, so this just comes with one file in it. And this is pretty much all you need. Now, when you start this, it does open, PowerShell here. Try not to get confused or anything like that. It's pretty simple, right? It's nothing crazy. So you're going to get the same thing protected here. Run anyway. Real quick, if you do have any issues with Windows security here, if you're on Windows, you can go to Virus and Threat Protection, and you can go to like Protection History. This is out right now, but there would be a list of things like that you've been trying to download, and it would have say blocked. If you uncheck block to allow, then re-download, you shouldn't have any virus issues with this. So that's all I did, was to let that through. So, right, I've ran this and it's in the PowerShell here. So, let's put that there so you can see all this. Okay, so the program needs to discover your AVR and create a configuration file for you. The reason it's doing that, it needs to understand your layout. So I'm using a 11.2 system, and you can choose, I mean, right now it needs that file, so the only thing that I can choose is here, number 1 or exit. So it needs that file in here. Now, once you've made one, you can copy your last configuration file to this folder, no problem. I have one here. So receiver config AVR here. I could just copy that and put it in there. I'm not going to. I'm just going to run this as you would run it, or somebody has never done it. So discover AVR and create a configuration file. So it's finding all my other devices. It's the Denon A1H. Yes. It's asking me yes or no. So yes. Why? And that should be it. So there it is. This is 5.3. It's in there. Okay, and you can actually open this with a notepad just to see it. So, number of subwoofers 2, Denon A1H. It says the type as well of essentially Odyssey. I'm pretty sure. That's what it means. You've got the ampersigns, like what the speakers are, front left, center, front right. This is everything that I measured, and these are what they are. SW1, SW2, this is what it is in here. It's exactly the same. So it is aware of what speakers should be in here because of this file. That's what it essentially should. I mean, I think it should calibrate. If there's other things in here that are not labeled this, I don't think it would calibrate them. But yeah, that's what that is. Now we should be ready to go on to step 2. Let's put that there. I just want to make sure you can see everything. So step 2 is, I'll keep that open. So start optimization opens A1 Evo in the browser, right? So REW is running, but the API isn't ready. Continue anyway. Yes. I'll show you what you need to do here. So yes. And this opens this program here, or this in the browser here. I think what OCA needs to do here is to create a scroll bar, because if you go to like 100%, that's 100%. You can't really see everything at 100. This is on a laptop for like, this is like 1360 by 766, 68, something like that. It's not 720p, it's 768 for PC. But a scroll bar would be nice here, I think. So yeah. So yeah, this is now the web interface, and you essentially have all of these options. Now these are new. I've not seen this before. So you can now choose center speaker, minimum crossover frequency, and the maximum, which is pretty cool. Some people are having weak bass. We'll see if this version's correct. With 2 subs, I'm running 2 subs. So far, it's been okay. So, yeah. So let's go over these settings. I just want to know what you can see and what you can't. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in there. All right. Okay, let's go over this. So nighttime listening, don't care, don't do it. So, you know, if you do, then, you know, you can figure out what level you listen to, where you want it to kick in, I guess. Now this goes on to reference. The nighttime listening mode goes on to reference, and the main EQ goes on to flat. Now that this is becoming more comprehensive with this list of things, like check polarities, now bass is too weak, I would like an option to disable nighttime mode on reference, and instead use reference as another calibration. So I could use another calibration for my SACD player. So you could have one on reference and one on flat. The only workaround here is with the Denon A1H, for example, I have preset 1 and preset 2, so I don't really need reference. For me, nighttime mode's a complete waste of time, so, you know, it's just not something I'm going to use ever. Like, I would never use it. But I know a lot of people are in apartments and things like that, and it is very useful. But one of the reasons why I think OCA may have put this in is because I'm not sure if other receivers have low frequency containment, LFC. If you put low frequency containment to like 3 or 4, it neuters bass entirely. I'm just not sure if the cheap models have that. And this is a workaround for not having that. It essentially rolls the bass off, and you've just got to pick a volume level, which I think this might be what you listen at, or where you want it to kick in. So yeah, not for me though. Don't care. So what I was doing on my mini DSP when I was calibrating the system in REW, in the EQ section here. Well, it was a new install. So but anyway, what I would do is set individual max boost to 6. That probably could go up as well. Just max that out. Don't put a high shelf in. That's what I would do. I would just. I've over the years I've played with like maxing out the boost entirely. The problem is if that boost ever gets applied to say 60 to 70 hertz and you're putting in a plus 18, it doesn't sound good, and it pushes your speakers just way too much. Like it's just not needed. So I was looking around at like Trinoff and like what Trinoff do, and Trinoff basically allow a max boost of 6, and I think that's enough. So this essentially will match pretty much the same EQ as the mini DSP, and with OCA's knowledge, it will more than likely be far better as well. Far better with timing, just everything. It's just much more advanced techniques than I would have access to just by calibrating the sub. Now, can I get my system to sound absolutely amazing with MultEQ-X, just doing it all manual, and a mini DSP? Mini DSP. Yes, I can. But the thing is, this is so much quicker. You know, I haven't said this, but when you have a target curve in here, I'm using the Harman target here. When one is in here, it essentially uses that as the target. So you can take that out. You can put in anything. You have all of target curve library here. This is being laggy for some reason. Okay. Loads and loads of target curves to use. It's the Harman-Kardon curve now, it's called. So OCA is making curves. I tried them, I don't like them. Direct Harman curve. Do I really want to do this? Yeah, it's. I don't think they're good. If I know these curves, they're flat all the way to 20K, and they just have a 10 dB rise. Don't sound good. Same here. None of them sound good. I think like Dirac use these, and it's just like they're just not good. They just don't sound good at all. Neuron and OCA's like curves, my opinion, they're way too dry. I don't know if OCA has a really lively room or what is going on with his room. The reason you would apply like a curve like that is like it must not be treated, because why else would you reduce all that treble? You know, for me, a nice standard curve is the Harman curve. The Harman curve, in my opinion, is best for movies, because movies, in my opinion, you want a natural, you could say generic sound. You just don't. I don't want flavors of sound when I'm watching movies, right? I just really, it's a dry sound. It's a generic dry sound that is has a nice treble roll off. It's not harsh, nothing like that. It's nothing crazy, but it is not a musical curve. For music, it's not. It's actually not very good at all. It's okay if you like a dry sound, relatively dry sound, but it's not lively. You could take this curve and EQ it, re-EQ it in here if you wanted to. Actually, you would put it into REW here and then actually EQ it. What you want to do if you want a musical curve, and you just still want to say use a Harman curve, is you would have to put an EQ filter on here of like around +2 or +3 around 10K. 10K, when you do that, you get that air back, you get that liveliness in music back at around 10K. You just want to hump around 2 dB. Q of 1 or 2. It can be relatively wide, up to around 5 rolling into 5K, rolling out or into 5K, 7K, around here. Just have a nice hump there, and you get that air back in what I would call an 80s term, you could say, is hi-fi. You have that hi-fi sound now. And obviously the bass is already there in the Harman curve, but the Harman curve rises too fast, in my opinion, for music. So Harman curve. This is a little aggressive for music, this rise here. You would almost want to wait and then rise to this. So, but you can pick what music or target curves that you want. You can play around with all of them. I've played around with a lot of them, and I like. Like I said, the Harman curve is pretty generic. It's pretty dry sounding. It's not flavorful at all. It's almost, you could almost say it's boring, but it's incredible for movies. And that's what I mainly, I do listen to music, but a lot of the times as well, I listen to music while I'm working downstairs on PC speakers. So I don't sit down and listen to a lot of serious music unless it's like maybe an ATMOS mix, or sometimes I'm just sitting down and like I want to listen to something, but I'm playing it through either YouTube or Spotify. It's really not that serious. So you have to pick a curve that you do the most listening with. If you're a music guy, then a Harman curve is not for you. So, but movies, yeah, it's incredible. So It's exactly what I want for movies. Okay, let's get back to this. 6 dB boost, sub-target infill. I think this is to do with the level adjustment. I just set this to 0. Like, there's no reason for me to mess with this. As long as the target that I'm going for is matched by this EQ, there's no need to mess with this. Why would I lower or increase this if, after measuring, the target is doing exactly what I want? My bass boost is the target itself. So if I'm over the target or below the target, then yeah, sure, something needs to be done. But the previous couple of versions, I've got this to, you put the 6 dB boost in, and everything works out great. Now, this isn't a 6 dB boost on the channel, this is an EQ boost. So if you've ever tried to EQ without any boosting in the sub, it generally is not going to look good at all, just applying negative EQ. Some boosting is necessary to get that to fill in nicely. Like some of these dips, just to fill in nicely. So I think a 6 dB boost is fine. It's not putting too much stress on the receiver or anything like that. This is again another reason for running your subs hot, because at some point in the EQ there will be a 6 dB boost, and if my subs are like 11 to 10 dB hot, there's still room there to play these things, these movies, extremely loud and not have things clip. So again, that's another reason why I run my subs hot. I did the same thing in the Mini DSP. Now, you can choose to just allow the system, the program here, to control your crossovers. I don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because any other crossover apart from 80 Hertz sounds bad. So that's me. And what I mean by that is, all right, so front mains, let's set that to 80. Center channel, set them to 80. So imagine I set, so this is all other speakers, right? All of the speakers that are not a center channel and that are not a main. So my rear surround speakers, right, do have issues with bass. It's just because of the placement. It's not energized. I don't get energized bass at the rear. Whereas the ATMOS channel and the back speakers here are fine. They're right next to a wall. They get energized by that bass, and the bass is really good. So my left surround and right surround don't have that, and they are low bass. My issue is, though, I've done this before where I've put the crossover to like even 120. I can hear it. There's an explosion in the rear, one of the rears, and I hear the sound there, and then I hear the bass at the front, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. So it just doesn't sound good. I would rather have slightly low bass in some of these speakers than put the crossover higher than it needs to be, and I can now hear the bass. I can't do that. I'm not doing it. There's no way. So what you can do here is you can essentially here set this to lock in, force 80 Hertz. Now for me, the way how picky I am about the way I want my things to sound, 80 Hertz is the best because I cannot pinpoint where bass is coming from. If I have slightly low surround channels in bass, who cares, right? Either I get better speakers or I place them in a different place. But I'm not sacrificing this idea of bass that I can hear where it's coming from. There's just no way I'm doing it. I've ran a calibration where these were just maxed out at 250, and that was 40, and the system now picks the best crossover. In my opinion, doesn't sound good. I wouldn't do it, and I'm not doing it. So, and I'm glad we have this choice though to do this. Now, there is some debate for 90 Hertz. You're right. Maybe I could give you 90 Hertz. I really can't place 90 Hertz. But once you start going above, I can start to place. So some systems I've heard do sound better at 90. You know. But for me, it's 80, and you can essentially force 80 for all speakers here. That, for me, is what I would do. I would do that first, unless you have a specific reason to not do that. Even if you're using, like, satellite speakers, that crossover bass still has to go to the subwoofer at the front. You're going to hear it. So, not for me. Not for me, there's no way. Most of the speakers here are doing fine. They can go to 80 Hertz easily. It's just these ones have a little bit of problem because of the placement. Don't care. Alright, so that's really this screen here. I will see if the bass is too weak. If it's too weak, we could check this and see if it needs further optimization. So one thing I should probably do first, just in case, is save this. I don't want to save it there. YouTube, OCA. I'm just going to put that for now. Just in case for whatever reason you want to rerun this, that is actually what I've done with my others. Is I made sure that I got excellent measurements right here. Measurements for Acoustica. I've got the calculations, I've got the final calibrations of everything, and so when a new version comes out, I just load this in and recalculate. It's that easy. So I'll probably do it like OCA did. He split, so give me a sec. You can kind of see what's going on. And then we do this as well. So yeah, now this is all the measurements loaded in. These are my actual settings that I want applied. We're gonna essentially hard force 80 Hertz. Now, the best thing about this is it will still absolutely, even at it's only got one option for 80 Hertz. It will still brute force find the best crossovers, find the best timing for 80 Hertz crossover. That to me is again why it's so good, is this brute forcing of 80 Hertz, it's going to find the best timing this way no matter what anyway. So even if it wasn't potentially the right choice for you, it's still going to do its absolute best to find that best timing and EQ for 80 Hertz. So yeah, let's go. So now you press start optimization with the measurements currently loaded in REW. Okay. Yeah. So you need to turn the API server on. This is probably the issue about doing measurements before. It won't start the server. So, all right, now it's going. Do I need to reload? I guess. Yeah. If you choose to do it a different way, where the program said down here, when it starts optimization, also open REW with the server on, it will do that. So now we have to put all the settings back in. 6, 80, 80, 80. So, alright, that's everything set. We should be good now. So, we have a target curve in the EQ section, the Harman curve, and these are all the measurements, so we're ready to go. Should be it. Okay, let's zoom in so you can see. Okay, so this is essentially, this is telling what REW to do. It's resetting a few things here. Like you can see, it's reversing the 250 hertz roll off that is in Denon and Marantz receivers. It's looking at the volume levels for the sub, looking at the volume levels now for all of these other channels compared to each other. The final target level is 74.3. Okay. It's giving us a warning here about the max distance. This is going to be for the sub. Most subs, to get them to be perfect with your speakers in distance or timing, is going to require a lot. So now it's doing finding the best crossovers, but obviously it's locked in at 80 hertz. So it, like I said, it does have to brute force timing and to make sure the crossover works. So bass optimization complete. Phase magnitude corrections. It's going over flat now. So this is pretty cool, right? That this system can just work in the background like this. Take all of your measurements and just work things out. It's really cool. Now for me, my calibration like this with MultEQ-X, I mean, I got it down to around 3 hours, but I typically allow myself at least 4 hours to do a calibration, right? As you can see here, the hardest part of this, or the most important part you could ever have here, is the measurements themselves. So now if you're a psycho like me with sound, to get things the best that they could be, now knowing that, hey, there could be an update out in 3 days, the most important thing is the measurements. So realistically, if you're really like absurdly, you want the best measurements possible, measure at night. That could mean some problems with the people that you live with, but you might want to explain to them, look, this will only happen once, you hope. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, the reason for that is nobody's out on the roads. Because if you live near a road and a truck drives by, like the first time I did this with my measurements, if a truck went by, I measured again. I made sure my noise floor was as low as it could possibly be. And yeah, I made sure I got excellent measurements for this, because I knew that, well, when there's a new version, you just load up all the measurements in REW and you're ready to go. So, okay. So we have gotten 2 new files put into the same folder. Press OK. So this is finished. Now, there was a little bit of a confusion when I first used this. There's a warning here. It says, please return to the main application and transfer the OCA file to the receiver with option 3. I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. So I forgot I had this screen open. So it says here, number 3, transfer optimized calibration file. That took me a little while to, I was like, wait, I actually refreshed this screen because I was like, where's option 3? So don't make that mistake like I did. So we have 2 files in here. Don't need that anymore. So it's added these 2 files. So one is a .oca file, and one is essentially this. So if you X that out, you can just load this, open this. This is now the file. So everything's locked in at 80 hertz. Yeah, we can just go over this real quick. Max boost allowed 6 dB there. It's just telling you what you've done. One thing I made sure I did was because it says here relative volume between the left sub and the right sub is near field, making, even if you have a phone app like from SVS on SVS subs, and one on the volume it says -10 and the other one says -10, excuse me, make sure they are playing the same volume. Just check. Some amps are slightly tuned very minorly different. There could be an offset there, you don't know. I'm using the monolith subs, THX, and it is really annoying to have to manually do it, but you know, when you want the best, when you want things set up the best they can be, I made sure that my subs were playing exactly the same volume, like exactly the same. That was back and forth about 5 times. So when I want something done right, I'm making sure it's done right. I'll go back and forth. So now it says the remaining subwoofer volume range is essentially +12 or -12. That's all we have, because in the audio section, it can make these relative changes in the audio section here. So audio, subwoofer level adjust there, it would do it there. Then once the relative differences are whatever they are, then it would use the rest of it in the levels section. So now, as you can see, the difference between the left and the right sub here is like 0.07 milliseconds, and it's because they're essentially, that could be literally the difference between my mic placement. Like if I moved the -7, if I moved my mic to the left, because if that's negative, or is that showing the difference? Either way, if I moved it just slightly, this would change this as well, because my calibration was like -4, 0.04. So this could just be mic placement. That's really all it is. So, and again, my subs are laid out symmetrically, and they shouldn't be that far off in time, right? Now, another thing here is it analyzed the volume at 90 dB with both subs playing. So the level was 74 dB. Did it say? Maybe I can't. Oh yeah, there it is. So the average level of the speakers is 74 dB. My subs are at 90. So that's going to require some bringing down, especially because this sub measurement was at speaker level. So as well, I still think it's the best thing to do is to put your subs hot like this and use negative volume on the receiver to avoid clipping. So, and yeah. Oh, so it's already saying here what the subs need to be, -11.5, right? So we are right on the edge of what you can do in a receiver, because you can only reduce the sub volume by -12. But for me, as long as I am not capped out on that negative volume and there is room to work here, then that's for me, that's perfect. So some of this stuff I don't know what it does, like the subwoofer scaling factors and things like that. Optimizing crossover delay between the fronts and the subs is important, because again, if you're a 2-channel guy or you like listening to music as well, getting this stuff locked in is really important. So it's actually working out the crossover volume, 86 dB. This is interesting, yeah. So it's working out the actual target curve volume, what it should be as well. One thing to think about with this volume at 74 dB, that's at 1K, 1 kilohertz, but the target curve on a Harman is rising, like around, it's like 82 dB at 60 hertz, something like that. So it's working out these levels as well, what it should be compared to the target. Distances, And obviously the sub is really this system allows for greater distances set. So if you can see, like the speakers are like 9 feet away, the subs are set to 28 feet away. This, though, the reason it has done this is to get perfect timing and phase between the subs and all of the other speakers combined. This type of work would take me hours to actually to do this. The quick way I was doing it was essentially impulse aligning every speaker, and that was it. That's about all I could do. This is completely advanced though, this. And the fact that you can now go over the limit as well is also impressive, because I used to run through the mini DSP and I could not get my subs completely timed perfect, because you had a 13 millisecond delay probably in the sub itself, you've got an 11 millisecond delay going through a mini DSP, and it's like I have no distance left to like try and bring this in. I think I was 4 to 6 milliseconds off in time. I think the sound was coming slightly early, but with 6 milliseconds, I don't think even I can hear that. I think it takes me around 12 milliseconds to start hearing that sub bass is actually off. So, not sure if any of this is worthwhile. I mean, it's just going through all the calibration information, but at least you have it. It only took 3 minutes and 23 seconds. That's it. So in 3 minutes and 23 seconds, you can have probably the most advanced calibration ever outside of maybe Trinoff, and even then it could even be better, right? So I've heard Trinoff before, and it was an under setup room, so I can't really have a big opinion about it, in all fairness. Like, the bass was just awful, so just wasn't. It had like 12-inch subs like playing in a really big room, so it just didn't sound good. So to truly say that I know what like Trinoff system sounds like, I don't. One thing I'm really like just unhappy about though with Trinoff, just talking about that, is you can't even upload a target curve to the processor. It's like, wait, so you pay $16,000 for a system that you can't even upload a text file to? Like, that's just bad. So you can make your own on there, but it's archaic to make your own target curve on their UI. So now I've seen they provide recommendations for, say, music and like, say, something else, but it's just, I mean, that's just bad. You can't even upload your own text files for that. I'm just shocked that you just can't do that. Anyway, this is not a Trinoff calibration. So now it's put the low pass filter for LFE at 150 Hertz. So let's see this. So clear traces. So these should be all the original measurements, like the F, with an O there. Final sub is that probably won't be that smooth. It'd be nice if it was, but it's just an idea. So here's the curve. Here's the actual Harman curve, and here's where the bass should be, because that's how you don't measure bass levels with SPL anymore. You measure bass levels compared to the actual target itself. It needs to be right on line with the target itself. That's the whole point of having a target curve. Like, if your bass is up here, why are you making a target curve? You know, this was the problem before in version 4.5. Like, my bass was down here. It was like exactly 6 dB low. So then you would have to go in and change the volume levels yourself, which ruins the calibration. And the only way to change levels is where was it? Is on this screen. you can change levels on this screen. Like if you needed to change subwoofer levels and things like that, you can do it on the channel level section where you press options on the remote. You cannot do it You can't do it here. Do I need to refresh? My levels are 0. Oh, I haven't actually sent it yet, so... Alright, I'm getting confused. So, you've got all the other filters to see what they would be. I can't see where they are now. Okay. Right front is below. Okay. Not sure if that's correct, but... Alright, anyway, now... let's go back to the file folder. So this is all the log, and this is the file that we get. Now, I can rename this YouTube calibration. You can just rename it. This will be aware of what the naming process is. So if I press 3, file number to transfer. Oh, right, here it is, yeah. Okay, so available calibrations here, I only have one. So it's U2 calibration.OCA. The only other one you could do is enter a file path manually. Let's say you had a calibration somewhere else. You could then press 2 and I guess you'd find it. I've never done that. I've always had my calibration files, the .OCA files in there. Now, in theory, you could have like 3 .OCA files in there, but again, you should probably rename them yourself, just to make sure, oh, this is what this calibration is. Oh, this is the plus 6 dB calibration version. This is the 80 Hertz calibration. You know, you can rename all of these. So I'll press 1. Now, here's the presets. I don't want to get screwed up on this. So I'm currently using number 2. So preset 2. I want it sent to preset 2, not preset 1. So press enter. And my receiver just clicked, and essentially now it's in Odyssey mode, and it's just sending all the filters. Now, time over time, OCA has updated this program to hopefully be able to transfer all of these filters properly. Sometimes, though, you may have to send them again. This even goes for the MultEQ-X app as well. I've sent stuff through. I mean, it is wireless. That could be why some of the timing is off. And things like that, because apparently you only get a certain amount of time to send these filters. So all calibration settings were transferred successfully. Your Denon A1H is now updated. Flat is for normal listening levels, reference is for low listening, and dynamic volume and dynamic EQ are off, yeah, which they should be. Let's do a refresh here, and now see. There we go. So we got all the levels in here. So my rears are low, so it's increasing volume here, which is good. I'm happy about that. And it's got my subwoofer levels in here, negative 11.5. Pretty much they're never going to clip now. There'd be no way. One thing I haven't really tried on this receiver is the Denon A1H. This has XLR outs, and XLRs you typically, I think, get about 3 dB more volume out of XLRs, I think. Because the first thing I noticed when I switched to XLRs, I was like, the bass is like much heavier, much louder than RCA cables. So now, this screen, I'm a viewer of this. And what I mean is, do not go into the actual receiver itself on the remote and go into this section. As soon as you start playing things, it ruins the levels. You can't do that. So always use, say, the web here as just a now this is something I've kind of complained about, but sometimes there's just no workaround for it. Sometimes this doesn't get sent to 80 Hertz. It shouldn't be 80 Hertz. I mean, it should be 80 Hertz, not full range. I could try sending it again just to see if it was a bug. So number 1 and preset 2. If not, you can manually change it. This is again kind of like the benefit of picking 80 Hertz is if it doesn't get transferred over, I can just switch them to 80 Hertz as well, so manually. So I've found though that is pretty much the only setting for some reason that doesn't actually get transferred correctly is the crossovers, so you might want to check that. So sometimes I've transferred it again and they did get transferred, and other times again they don't. So, but definitely check it, because if you're not checking, you might also be like, well, where's my bass gone? Like, so closing successful. All right, let's do a refresh. Still full range. Let me just double check on the receiver itself, just in case this screen's lying. One sec. Manual setup, crossovers. Yeah, it's all set to full range. But the calibration is optimized for 80 Hertz, so changing this would not be a problem. So I've just changed that. Crossovers. Oh, really? I literally just changed them. Whoa. Yeah, it didn't save right. That could be a bug with the Denon A1H. Because I've seen this before where I've set my crossovers to, let's say 80 Hertz, backed out, and it didn't actually save. Yeah, it's bugging out again. It's not actually saving the values at all. I'm actually going to see if I can do it on here instead. See, look, this is exactly what's going on. 80. Now I'm getting an error. I'm probably doing it too quick. This is probably an instance where I need to turn the receiver off. I do not like turning my receiver off though. I think this is doing it. I don't think that did it. For some reason it's bugging out on the front. Well, that's saved. I'm going to turn it off, even though I don't like to. I never like to turn this off. Me personally, I've found that keeping amplifiers And I mean, I'll call this at this point, I'll call this an amplifier. To me, sounds better when you keep them on. Right, can I? I'm doing it on the receiver for now. Let's see if I can actually get this going. I should send this to Denon and say, look, what's going on here? 80 Hertz. It won't save. Alright, I'm going to cut this and I'm going to figure this out because I want this set to 80 Hertz. One sec, I'll be back. Okay. Whew, fixed it. The workaround was to go into the receiver, set everything to 80 Hertz, leave it on that screen, then go back into this, retransfer it when everything was at 80 Hertz. Every time I backed out, it changed 80 Hertz to full range. Yeah, and so I didn't back out, right? I just made sure everything was actually in 80 Hertz, then transferred, and somehow it's working. So speakers, crossovers, everything's now 80 Hertz. That is a Denon A1H bug. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bug in this this new software. That when they went from say 480 IP to like these kind of really nice menus. So I would not be surprised if it's that. Yeah, I'll have to see if I can contact Denon and say, look, sometimes the crossovers just do not save when you back out. So, all right, so calibration is done. Well, what we could do is just measure and see. So this should be the level. That should be the level there of what it is. I could just sweep the center channel. Where are my sweeps? And see. So this will be with the sub on, so it'll be using the sub and the speaker, the center of the channel itself. We'll see how the crossover is and just see how it looks. Let's measure from file. Okay, that looks good. That looks really nice to me. So as you can see, it's tracking on target quite nicely. Now some, can you see this? Yeah, you can. I've asked this as well. Like with my calibrations that I can do manually, I can get within 0.3 dB the entire way down the target itself. This isn't using cuts in a heavy way like I was doing, and as you can see, it's really like even here, for instance, right? It is 74. That's 4 dB right there. This part, 72.5, 74. What's that? 1.5. So there's parts of this that are actually not what I would consider perfect, but it actually sounds better. So if you can tell me how that is, I mean, I have no idea, like how the response itself potentially does not look as good as what you could personally do manually, but it simply sounds much better. Like the treble has got this like wispy crispness to it that my EQs just simply don't have. You can just tell, like when I uploaded the previous 2 versions ago, I didn't remeasure, didn't do anything. I just wanted to see if it sounded better. I uploaded the file and I was like, I knew instantly that the sound was better. Going from version 5 to version 5.1. I just knew. Even watching some like kind of old movies, I was like, it just sounds good. It sounds really good. You should really know right away. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, sure, we're in psychoacoustic, but look what it's done to the levels. Whew. Those bass levels are spot on. Absolutely spot on. So 81.1, 81.3. It's absolutely perfect bass levels. So some people are having bass level problems. Are you having bass level problems compared to the target, or is it just what you're hearing? Because I like... there's a Facebook group that report like potential problems, and they say they're getting low bass. I need to see it. Like I want to see where the levels are actually at in REW. Like how far is it low or how far is it high? I think most people are actually complaining about bass that is too low rather than too high. So, but that is perfect bass tuning right there. Absolutely perfect bass. It's following the target absolutely perfectly. Can I change the color? Red. Red. That is perfect. I mean, I'll be honest. This EQ. I think this is better than what I had before. This is better than what I have on version 5.1. Another thing, I think this is slightly tighter than I had previously. Not by much, but it is showing that from version to version, things are definitely improving. So let's sweep a front left, because I want to know how bass, well, 2-channel. I want to know how good 2-channel is. Now, I use the Pinnacle Primes SVS speakers. They have absurd bass, like stupid amounts of bass, like around, it mightn't be 60 hertz, like just massive jacked up bass, like 15 dB, 18 dB. It's crazy. So it'd be interesting to see what they do there. And if you're having to bring down EQ so much, you're changing phase. If you boost, you're changing phase. If you use negative EQ, you're changing phase. So what's going to go on there? Let's see. Where am I? Okay, yeah, so this is where the hump for the sub, the speakers were, and this is what it's done. Sure, there's a slight rise. I don't think anyone's really going to say anything against that, having slightly more bass at around your crossover area. But look at this crossover though. It's absolutely perfect. There's no dipping here. There's no issues here. It's essentially handing over perfectly. This is actually the speaker here. And I guess there's a combination of the sub and the speaker here together around 60 hertz. But that transition there at 80 is perfect. It just rises into the sub. Just insanely good EQ. So what OCA is doing here is absolutely incredible. And again, this EQ took 3 minutes. The hardest thing you're going to have to do is do your own measurements, which I still suggest. And like I said, try and be as intricate as you can with these measurements. If there's noises, if someone's cutting the lawn next door, then you don't measure, right? You just have to wait, or pick a time safe at night maybe you could get away with like 12 o'clock on a Saturday night, but then again, you got to worry about neighbors like playing music or something like that. I don't know. Whatever is best for you to EQ with. Sundays are actually a pretty good day because there's probably no trucks. There's not a lot of trucks. There's probably no trucks on our road, just up here. So you want to get clean measurements. Now, I don't think I unplugged that speaker. Let me cut this just a sec. I'm going to measure the sub through the right speaker. Just one sec. Okay. Yeah, let's measure the... I'm measuring the right speaker, but with it unplugged, and I put the crossover to 250 hertz. It did save. I was thinking, though, I could have just measured the subwoofer channel, but it's just a kind of habit that I got into, measuring the subs in this way. So the channel is at 250 hertz. So I want to see how far the EQ essentially goes. In the sub. Okay, so that's actually just the sub, and it's actually getting some slight rising here. Yeah, that's because it had to cut. It had to do a huge cut there from the original on both subs. So, but again, this thing's tracking like really nice, right? Up to, I guess, yeah, it's the 150 hertz roll off. That's what it's doing. Now, can I measure the sub channel? Is the sub channel exactly the same? No, because it would have a 150 hertz on it. So OCA set the low pass filter on the LFE to 150 hertz. I don't like it, and I change it, but let's have a look. Okay. This is interesting. So the speaker EQ is actually different to the sub EQ. So the sub 0.1, so the 0.1 is a different, slightly different EQ than what is happening on the speakers themselves. This could be just the limitations of, say, the Denons and Marantz itself. They're slightly different. Or, oh, actually, I know. No. I know what's going on. This 150 hertz roll-off is actually helping the EQ. I think that's why it picked 150 hertz. If I set this to 250, it should be, I think it's going to be the same as the speaker calibration. Yep. So the filter itself is actually helping the EQ. That is interesting. Huh. Instead of it being risen like that at 250 hertz. Wait, actually, I might. No, that's actually not right. They are. Oh, that was. And that's not. No, so maybe the channels are different. It's the first time I'm seeing this, so I'm kind of just like working out the differences. There is just a slight difference between, I guess, the tightness in the EQ of crossed over bass from a channel compared to the actual subwoofer 0.1 channel itself. That's what by the looks of it is happening here. Now, in my opinion, I do not like the sound of the 150 hertz crossover here for low pass. I could hear it. I was running a few demos and I'm like, it's just too aggressive. So I set this to 120. Maybe OCA would tell you that's not the right thing to do. But for me, all I care about with my system is the way of a sound I like. And I think crossing it over at 120 hertz makes it so you can't hear where bass is coming from, and it just simply sounds better. So let's resweep. Okay. Right, that was 150. All right, I see. So 120, 150. No. So 120, let's do color. That's a bad color. Still blue for now. Right, so that's the difference. Blue is 120 hertz and the red is 150 hertz. Might seem really small, but at 100 hertz, there's a difference between a dB and a half. I can hear it. And this, look at the difference there. That's 3 dB. I don't like it. It just doesn't sound as tight as 120 hertz does. So when you see your filters here and you see that the LFE is set to a particular level, I personally would change it to 120. But again, it depends what sound you're after. Like if you don't mind your speakers crossed over at higher levels and the bass going into the subwoofer and you don't mind any of that going on, you don't even have to change it really. I am just super picky about the way I want my system to sound, and it is nice that you have this level of calibration and settings available for me to really control this. One thing is changing the setting from 120 hertz, obviously from say 150 to even 250, did not change the levels. That means realistically you are free to change that to whatever you want, but don't change these. There's essentially metadata in this. As soon as you change it, it'll go. You can't do that. When this becomes available, how am I going to get that? Play. That. Ooh, there's an offset there. I don't think that's right. I think this should be 11.5. So maybe that's a setting that didn't go through correctly, but I don't know. Why does it sound so good? Could just be a display bug. I mean, if I'm getting this level of bass, it should sound excellent. I could do a sweep of the left sub and the right sub and just to see if they're playing the same, and that is a display bug. That there could be things like that going on. But what I do suggest is when you've finished, say, a calibration like this, is try and measure it. Like, even if it is in another day, measure the center channel for 75 dB, and then just measure your sub to see if it's at least tracking. The mic could be in a very minor different position, but just make sure that bass is tracking to your target. If the bass is up here or down here, for some weight, there's something is wrong, and that other setting might need to be used. If your bass is low, you might need to check that. So, yeah, very impressed by this. It has brought a sound out that I didn't really know could exist. I've kind of been playing around with this for years, of, you know, optimizing this and optimizing that. I just about had it. Well, I had it as good as I could get with the MultEQ-X app, PC app here. And, you know, this Acoustica just sounds excellent. Now, again, always keep your folders of, say, all right, this is the best EQ, so keep the file, keep the folder, keep the version, like in the downloads here. So make sure I keep this version, say 5. Let's say I work out that 5.3 just sounds the best, and it really is. Like, that bass calibration is even better. It's got the levels perfect, which I'm really happy about. And then you keep this one. And then if there's more released like later in the month and things like that, give it a listen. Before you commit to a new version and say this is definitely better, just give it a listen. Maybe run a quick measurement on it as well, just to make sure that those bass levels are correct. There's going to be iteration from this bass problem that people have been having, and even I had originally, over, I bet, the next 6 months of tightening things up and understanding that certain models can't produce maybe that much bass, or it could be controlled in a certain way. Like even the lesser versions of Odyssey, I think you can only EQ to like 100 hertz and then maybe up to like 8 kilohertz, and then you can't EQ anymore. You can still get good sound out of that, but the receivers that cost like 1,300 maybe and above, I think that's where you get the best Odyssey version. And you have like bass control, delays, and all of that. So that's where it gets really good. That's where you get the really good sound out of receivers, or of at least that. When you get into like receivers like mine's like a $6,000 receiver, the sound quality is just absolutely insane compared to even my old receiver, which was 6500H. It's just much better. It just sounds analog smooth, whereas the other one, by comparison, once I get used to that sound, was hard. It wasn't harsh, just had a hardness to it that this new receiver just got over. Better analog to digital to analog converters, I don't know, but this just sounds amazing. So yeah, really good. Yeah, I mean, just really impressive. So let's give a thanks. If I see any, I'll cut. If I have to cut, I will cut. 200. Okay. There was credit card information there, so I just cut it. I gave $200 because he deserves it. He probably deserves more at this point. Great job, OCA. I now know why you call yourself Obsessive Compulsive Audiophile. Yeah, excellent. I mean, that it simplified my EQs entirely, and it's actually improved on anything that I could do. So it's taught me as well that this is not just as simple as the EQ itself, like me following the target curve absolutely perfectly. OCA is obviously using advanced timing phase things in this EQ that you just can't do in these other apps. You just can't do it. So Like I said, I think the sound quality for this is absolutely incredible. It really is. It is just amazing. It's got that smoothness, and when I say smoothness, I just mean it's not harsh. It doesn't have that harsh sound whatsoever. I think the bass levels are excellent. Obviously, it's tracking to my target. That's exactly where I want it to be. Actually, one thing real quick. I know this is... so what I do is... now, this is another thing that doesn't affect EQ, the levels at all. Now, this is 2-channel playback. If you go to auto... crossover is still 250. Okay, I've got to change that. When you press auto for this, like if the distances aren't the same as the distances here, you'd press auto and it pulls in all of the new data from the distances. Because anytime I do a brand new EQ, I set this to auto first. It changes all of the distances to OCA's distances. Then what I do is I come in manual. That would get set to 80 Hertz. And what I do is I don't like the discrepancy between movie bass and music bass. So I set these to, there was a 0.5 offset there, so I'll keep it. That. Oh. That. What this does is it lowers the channels of the left and the right channel by 10 dB. That gives you back 0.1 bass in music. And look, for me, that's what I prefer, right? I want my music to sound that way, as though it is... To be honest, when you have Dolby Atmos music, this is the type of bass levels that you have. Because I've done demos of the Beatles between the stereo version and the Dolby Atmos version, and to get the Dolby Atmos bass, you have to do this. So I'm only putting that at negative 10.5 because that's what the offset was. You don't have to do that. You could just now set that to both channels, negative 10 dB, and you get excellent bass in 2-channel music now. Now, yes, the 2-channel music is going to be 10 dB lower, but for me, it's so what? This is the sound I want. I want this sound for music, and I want that much bass for... actually, these are the same. So that's how I set mine up. And yeah, so let's see if I can do this. Wonder if it will save. Yeah, that's saved. Refresh. Yeah, so that bug's gone. And yeah, low pass filter, I think 120 Hertz again. These are just minor iterations that you personally can make that do not have an effect actually on the EQ levels or anything themselves. Once, if you're measuring this and you change the wrong thing, like in the levels, and it goes up here or down here, you'll see that you can't do that. But you could see channel level. So I'm going to that options button, and I'm just changing the subwoofer level by plus 2 dB. We should just get a plus 2 dB rise. What am I measuring? Sub. Okay. This should rise by 2 dB. If it raises by more, then you can't even do that. So, let's see. But I don't think doing it this way is a problem. Yeah, it's exactly 2 dB. Wait, where's green? 83. Yeah, it's exactly 2 dB. So that is how you increase volume. Nope. All volume adjustments will be here. Now, you don't even go into the receiver and do it. If you do, if you go and do a channel level sweep, I would think all the information's gone. So you can't even do that. So yeah, this part where you press the options and you get all of this on the screen, you can make adjustments there, and that's what I do. I put offsets here in for any speaker that is behind me at 4 dB. Rear ATMOS, everything, 4 dB. The only way you can tell that you have to put those in is with a disc like this, Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. They have sounds that actually move around the room, and you can essentially see how your ears deal with sounds moving around you. So the way our ears stick out or are flat, there's a lot of things that can change the way sounds sound when they're behind you. But there's no question or shadow of a doubt that human beings hear sounds better when the sound is directly in front of you. Now, if that's the case, yes, sure, this program has set everything to 75 dB, but when the sound goes around you, that 75 dB is not what you hear anymore. It's not 75 dB. It's actually something completely different. So what you want to hear for now is the sound moving around from the right speaker to the back right speaker. You can close your eyes, you can do whatever you want, that it sounds exactly the same volume. Keep doing it. Keep doing it until it sounds right. For me, it's around 3.5 dB because I have high cushions and things like that. But I put 4 in, and I just put 4 in on all the speakers. Why all the speakers? Because every speaker now with this system is matched to 75 dB. So when I put plus 4 dB on all of the speakers that are around me, I know they're being increased to 79 dB. So that's the way I deal with that. And that's the way I deal with increasing the volume of things after a calibration like this, where you cannot touch the actual levels typically. So, yep, that's it. But I can put these back now. Where did I do it? Oh, I did it on here, didn't I? So, yeah. This is preset 2 anyway. I'm not going to use this preset. What I'm going to do now is use this 5.3, recalibrate my existing system, roll all the measurements again, and then send it and see what kind of results we get for that, because that was the one where I went nuts on making sure the levels and the measurements are all done correctly. Crossovers. Am I 80? Yeah, okay, good. So yeah, if you have not tried this system at all, this is about as easy as it gets. This really is. You have a program for this ODD.WTF. I will link to this folder. It essentially resets your receiver ready to be measured, right? Everything is at 0. The low-pass filter is set to 250 hertz. You can do this manually if you want. You don't need to do this, but I wanted to see what it was about, what it could do. I think it's really smart to do this because at the start of each calibration, you know then that you are always going to be at a level, at a good starting point, right? Acoustica. And then you have all the downloads. Oh, they actually have all of the downloads here. Okay. So again, if you preferred an older version, you can use that. I'll link all of these in the description. And yeah, great job, OCA. Excellent. This is better. This calibration is better than anybody could do with MultEQ-X on their own, because of the way it handles phase and what was the other things? I don't know. I don't want to go too long anymore. Yeah, that's enough. So, but yeah, great job, OCA. Love it. Yeah, I mean, this is the sound I've been chasing for years, and I've been like doing these minor changes and things like that, and trying to work out how to get the best sound out of each speaker and stuff like that. This is one of the reasons as well why I didn't use this for a whole year, is because I was still working out my own things of how to time, how to use 90-degree file calibration files or 0-degree calibration files, changing the angle of the microphone to match the angle of the actual speaker I'm measuring. Like, I was trying all sorts of things. And yeah, excellent. Imagine having a system where you could just measure your system, literally press a button, and it gets your bass levels absolutely perfect, and everything online for volume in Target, for volume levels, like everything is volume matched perfectly as well. I mean, this thing is just too good. So yeah, if you can, OCA doesn't actually get paid or ask for money for this, but if you can, donate if you can, right? If you can't, then obviously don't. Not everybody can, but I'm in a position where I can donate, and yeah, I just think he's done a great job here. So I'll leave all the links in the description. If you've got a Denon or Marantz and you can measure your system, you owe it to yourself to at least try this and see if you can get just... I think you'll be amazed by the sound that you get from this. And OCA has only just started with the upgrades, right? In 2 months' time, it could morph into something completely different. Like this screen, that calibration screen, that could change. That's going to get probably improved over time. It's constantly evolving, and it feels good. There's a community chat in Facebook. It feels good to like, be part of like the discussion and the improvements that are actually going on. So definitely check it out. Awesome calibration. There's nothing else like, for me, there's nothing else like this on the market. You can get close, real close, but not at this level. This takes it to a whole different level of sound quality. So, yep, that's the video. Hope you appreciate it. It's another long one. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.